Dear Pilgrim, the General Directorate of the Council for Commanding the Good and Forbidding the Evil in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia welcomes you and prays that Allah will make your Hajj rewarding and worthy of His acceptance. The Council would like also to present to you the following important information on some of the sites in and around the Meccan and Madanian Harams. Arafah. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, excepting Urana, a name of a place within Arafah, standing at any spot in Arafah will be counted. So, there is no spot in Arafah that enjoys a special racial significance. According to the hadith just cited, Urana is the only spot in Arafah in which a pilgrim's standing will not be counted. As for the Mount Arafah, Jabal Arafah, also known as Jabal Ilal, it's like any other part of Arafah's area. It doesn't enjoy any distinction in terms of divine reward over the other places in Arafah. As for the white pillar that is installed on this 65 meters high mountain, it is to signify Arafah's area as a whole, the mountain being located in the middle of it. So the white pillar is not intended to distinguish the Jabal Arafah from the rest of Arafah's area, or to signify that it enjoys a specific ritual significance. Sadly, though some pilgrims are in the mistaken habit of wrapping their bodies and hands against the white pillar on Jabal Arafah, tying a thread or a rope on it, writing on it, or taking some of its soil or rocks, thinking that doing so draws them nearer to Allah. The fact, however, is that these practices are unlawful and are contrary to the normative practice of the Prophet, his Sunnah. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever introduces in this religion of ours something that doesn't originally belong, his act is rejected, meaning Allah will not accept any ritual practice or worshipful act which the Prophet didn't legislate or approve. Dear Pilgrim, the General Directorate of the Council for Commanding the Good and Forbidding the Evil in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia welcomes you and prays that Allah will make your Hajj rewarding and worthy of His acceptance. The Council would like also to present to you the following important information on some of the sites in and around the Meccan and Madanian Harams. Al-Jurana. There is a masjid mosque in Al-Jurana. It is built on the spot at which the Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, entered into the state of Ihram as he was preparing to begin the acts of Umrah following his return from a Taif military expedition. Al-Jurana is also home to a cemetery in which the dead from the inhabitants of the area are interred. The cemetery at Al-Jurana, contrary to what some people claim, does not contain the graves of the companions who were martyred in the Battle of Hunayn. For the place where the Battle of Hunayn took place was far removed from Al-Jurana. Also, there is at Al-Jurana an old water well, whose water is said to have once been highly potable, that the Prophet and personally tasted its water. The Saudi Ministry of Health has ordered the water well to be closed, citing health hazards such as the fact that the well's water has become so polluted that it is no longer potable. That being said, it is not permissible to use the tap water of the masjid at Al-Jurana for barakah benediction purposes, for it is not taken from the aforesaid water well. Many pilgrims also mistakenly think that Salah at the Masjid in Al Jarana enjoys a particular significance, but this belief is not grounded on the practice of the Prophet and his companions. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, exhorted us to stick with his sunnah, and to refrain from attaching a certain ritual significance to the places which he didn't designate as such. It is haram for a pilgrim to seek barakah from the masjid or from the graveyard at Al-Jarana, or to believe that the soil of the two has supernatural medicinal qualities. This is important because such practices could cause one to slip into shirk, associating others with Allah in veneration and worship, a sin which Allah said He would never pardon those who are guilty of and pass away before repenting from. Indeed, God will not forgive associating any God with Him, but He forgives anything less than this for whomever He wills. For whoever associates God with God has truly forged a great sin. An-Nisa 48. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, prohibited in a sound Sahih Hadith erecting buildings around and over graveyards or sitting on them. Dear Pilgrim, the General Directorate of the Council for Commanding the Good and Forbidding the Evil in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia welcomes you and prays that Allah will make your Hajj rewarding and worthy of His acceptance. The Council would like also to present to you the following important information on some of the sites in and around the Meccan and Madanian Harams. Mecca Library. Mecca Library was established in 1370 Hijrian 1950. This library, which is run and supervised by the Saudi Ministry of Islamic Affairs, contains valuable books and historical manuscripts. Some historians say the spot on which the library stands was the birthplace of the Prophet. The fact is, the Prophet's companions who didn't bother about places that had no connection to the Hajj acts, and they were known to limit themselves exclusively to those practices and rituals acts that had basis in the Quran and the Sunnah, didn't preserve for us the place where the Prophet was born. Our Prophet Muhammad, Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, brought us a perfected religious system that doesn't admit of any admission or omission, a religion in which devotional acts, ibadat, have strict spatial and temporal outlines. So whosoever exceeds these outlines is in fact committing ghulu, overstepping the limits of the Sharia. Conversely, knowing these outlines and the limits and sticking with them is sure sign of one's true love for Allah and His Prophet. The historical and the cultural status of Mecca Library notwithstanding, it is not permissible to single it out for performance of a certain set of devotional or ritual acts, or seek blessings from it, or make it a locus for any of those ritual acts that are exclusively restricted to the Kaaba.